What is up, Stockton, California? This is 93.5 KWDC Delta College Radio, and I'm your girl, Carolita.
And this is your boy, Troy.
We got the mayor Lincoln up in the building. What's up?
What's up, 209?
We out of here.
Let's go.
What is up, Stockton? You're listening to 209 Talk on 93.5 KWDC Stockton. 209 Talk is a collaboration where local college students sit down with the mayor. The show you are tuned into right now was put together by students enrolled in the broadcasting courses in the digital media department at Joaquin Delta College. Thanks for listening and supporting college radio. This week, we're going to be talking about economic development in Stockton. And we got me, Carolita, and Megan, and Mayor Lincoln. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Excited. It's a fun topic.
Absolutely. It's always fun hanging out with you guys, though.
I hope so. What is economic development?
When you think about economic development, you think about what we do as a community to improve our local economy and improve the overall quality of life for our community. And so specifically with Stockton, we kind of break that out into four different areas. One is economic development itself. The second is housing. The third is parking and venues. And the fourth is real estate. And that's how we categorize economic development, future economic development, and community growth within the city of Stockton.
Can I get those four again? So it's housing.
Yeah, economic development, housing, parking and venues, and real estate.
By parking and venues, that can be like businesses or just like parking and venues as in, when I think of a venue, I think of bars and clubs.
So you think about parking in venues, like we have a lot of parking structures in the downtown area especially, and there's a lot of businesses around there. And so, you know, in order to be able to accommodate customers, you want to make sure that they have a safe place to park and for your venues. And then as far as venues are concerned, we have a lot of great assets downtown with the ballpark, with our arena, and with our Weber Point Convention Center.
Okay, so the venues is like places where a large group of gathering come together?
Absolutely. So you think about parking and venues, you think about those spaces that are open to the public.
Okay.
I got stuck in one of those parking garages for like an hour one time after going to the Joe Satriani concert because everybody's just in a line. No one was moving because it was backed out to the street.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, that's why I park on the street most of the time. I'm not getting caught in those. I'm like, I'll park a couple blocks away before I get stuck in the parking lot. And, yeah, I'm not going to pay the fees either.
Yeah.
The fees are kind of too much.
For tax revenue? For the city giving back. I don't know.
Hey, come on. That's how we maintain those venues and those public spaces.
Are you sure about that? Because I pay for, like, the downtown parking, and you're gonna get in an elevator that smells like straight pee.
So this is quickly turning into a roast of our parking and venues in downtown Stockton. And for all, I'm sure you said what a lot of other people think or feel and want to say. So that's noted, and that's definitely noted.
Yeah, they did have like I don't know, the one that goes from the courthouse. I know that's cleaner than it used to be, so they are upgrading a little bit, but I know they need a little bit more. I'd be scared to get stuck in one of those, to be honest. I'd be like, should I just walk up there? But that's everywhere. That's not just Stockton. That's not a Stockton thing. So with businesses, do you think businesses are a part of the economic development? Like, is there any money going into not only these big venues and parking structures or real estate? Is it also going into these businesses around Stockton?
Businesses are at the core of our economic development strategy. We can't have a thriving economy without thriving local and small businesses throughout our community. And so for us, it's very important to not only understand that that is a priority, but then make sure that the policies, the programs that we implement make it a lot more easier for businesses to do business in the city of Stockton. We want our residents, we want our business owners, business community to see the city of Stockton as a partner, not a barrier for them to want to accomplish their goals that they have.
Something I kind of find interesting about all of that, though, when we were going to be seeking out businesses to interview for this particular subject, I was informed actually by my dad, who used to work for the city of Stockton, that not every business that's in Stockton is actually in Stockton. There's several unincorporated areas that are just county. How do you feel about those areas being a thing?
When you look at a map and you look at the city of Stockton, city limits, there are county pockets within the city of Stockton. So what that means is that, like in the Lincoln area, also Country Club area, like the Lincoln Center, that's a county pocket. So those businesses that are there, they fall under the county's jurisdiction. But at the same time, employees, some of those business owners, a lot of those business owners, constituents who frequent those businesses, they live in city, right? And so even though that even though they fall under a different jurisdiction, it's important that they make sure and they know that they're supported, as well.
Why are they unincorporated or just part of county and not like Stockton? Was it their choice or was it the city of Stockton's?
Over the years, over the decades, Stockton has grown exponentially, right? And so as a result of that growth, some of these areas are just historical county area. And so as a community, as a city grows and expands its boundaries, some pre-established areas, it's called annexation. They have the option to annex into the city limits or not. So over time, those particular areas have not annexed underneath the city limits.
Does that mess with the taxes coming into the city, them being out, or do they still have to pay taxes into the city, those businesses?
They have to pay taxes to the county, not to the city of Stockton.
Doesn't that mess up tax revenue for Stockton though?
If those jurisdictions were within the city limits, it would increase our tax revenue, but historically that they haven't. So as of right now, we don't know life with them. So we haven't lost anything, if that makes sense. We've grown around them. So if they were to incorporate at some point, then we would see an increase in our tax revenue.
There's a lot of businesses around Stockton, right, that are saying that they have county fees, city fees, and all these type of fees. Are there any small business loans that would help these small businesses grow? Because there are a lot of vacant business buildings. Is there anything that will help them get into these buildings and make it not vacant?
We have several opportunities for small businesses to grow and expand their business, and also to enhance their business as well. One in particular is a facade improvement grant, specifically in the downtown area. So what that does is that provides small businesses that are in the downtown area with a grant up to $25,000 per business to improve their facade, the face of the business, to make it a little bit more attractive, to enhance our downtown's image, so that we can not only just attract more business, but we can get more consumers in the downtown area living life.
Are these grants like loans? Do they have to pay them back, or once they get it and they rebuild and it looks nice, they get to pocket that?
It's a grant, and they don't have to pay it back.
Okay. Is there any initiatives for Black and Brown owned businesses?
So we have opportunity zones all throughout the city of Stockton, and what that does is that those opportunity zones provide those investors, people who want to do business in the Stockton area, with tax incentives, so tax deferred, tax exempt type of incentives, to make it more palatable for them to want to invest and do business in Stockton.
So a lot of these black and brown owned businesses are street vendors. So we get the street vendors that we buy tamales from, or even the street vendor as a food truck. Is there any initiative for them to start a small businesses into a brick and mortar, or besides the initiative of being in a specific spot? Like, what if they're already made community in this one area? Is there anything for them to also grow?
That's interesting that you mentioned street vendors, because what we found, especially during the pandemic, was there were a lot of brick and mortar businesses that actually went and became street vendors, or taco trucks, or food trucks rather. And they actually had more productivity and more revenue moving away from a brick and mortar facility. And so what we've done over the years is we've tried to be as intentional as we can with partnering with those street vendors, those food truck vendors, to make sure that, they have a voice in helping to form the policy and how the city of Stockton could best support them and partner with them.
Do they have to get a vendor license to be a street vendor, or could they just start selling automatically?
You have to be licensed.
And is it hard to get those licenses?
No, there's an opportunity to get a license. What we've done over the last couple of years, is we try to automate as much as possible. And so, like our business license process, we implemented an online business portal this past year to try to make it as convenient as possible for our residents who want to start a business.
We used to have a food truck that would be in like the parking lot over by the Science and Math building, and we don't have food trucks here anymore. We also don't have Student Chef or the bakery, so we kind of have like no food options here. Can we reach out to a food truck and ask if they can come here?
Absolutely. I'm sure that they would love it if you reached out to them and asked them to come here, because it's a win-win for everybody.
Can I just like call them, or is there something I gotta like type in on the computer?
You can call them. They know the rules. They're very familiar with the ordinance, and so city ordinance and what's required of food truck and food vendors. And you ask them the questions, and they'll give you the answers, and they'll be proactive as well with communicating to you what is expected of them, and you can. Delta could definitely go into an agreement with private vendors to create a better experience for the students and faculty here at the college.
Which one do you want to call?
No, right? I want to name some, but I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
No free promo.
The thing about Stockton is that there are a lot of good eats in Stockton.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
And that lends to, I'd say that lends to our cultural diversity.
Yeah.
We're the number one most diverse city in the nation, and we have some really good food. Listen, I've done a lot of traveling, and there's no better food than the food you can get through our businesses and our vendors here in the city of Stockton.
I would even say I did a lot of traveling, and no better taco trucks. Like when I go out of state, I'm like, where are the taco trucks? I need me a taco right now. I love the taco trucks. I live off March Lane, and I like drive all the way downtown. I'm about to, well, not downtown, but like West Lane area. Somebody
call a taco truck and tell them to come right now, because I'm getting hungry.
Right? We gotta take a break for a pause for the cause. Okay, and we are back. So, keeping up with economic development in our community, I know bringing in bringing in businesses into Stockton, or asking for businesses to come in to build Stockton, do you think it's helping, or do you think it's pushing out the working class and making it too expensive for them to live?
Well, remember I mentioned that the city of Stockton's economic development is focused in 4 areas. Mm-hmm. That was economic development, housing, parking and venues, and real property. And so what we have to understand about economic development as a whole is that the intent is to uplift communities, not to drive communities out. We want to improve the quality of life for everybody throughout our city. Housing is another element of economic development because we have a supply and demand issue. And so when there's less supply, the housing prices go up because there's such a high demand. And so we're working really hard as a city to improve our housing stock and through incentives, through programs, through partnerships, strategic partnerships, to do that, through our policy and how we working towards streamlining some of our permitting processes. All that will help. So as we're bringing in, we want to attract new businesses to improve the quality of life and the experience for our residents. We also want to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place as a community, as a city, to support that growth as well.
There is a food desert on A Street. It's widely known. It's no grocery stores over there. So let's say that Save Mart, we bring in Save Mart, we put it in A Street. Do you think it would gentrify that area and push out the people that have been living there for a long time?
Food deserts throughout Stockton, especially in South Stockton. You mentioned specifically the 8th Street area. That's a real concern, okay? Because that's a basic need, of life. One of the things that we realize is that there's been a significant disinvestment in South Stockton for decades. And that is a result of some poor policies or policies that we had in place previously that are no longer applicable today. What I mean by that is we had a big box ordinance in place that for years that prevented the Safeways of the world or Save Marts or other large grocery stores to be built in South Stockton and areas throughout Stockton.
They had like a renter's agreement or something? Because I know those are real, and like Walmart has like renter's agreement and no other grocery stores can make it around there. That was what was happening in A Street?
That was a component of it, but then there was a big box ordinance that banned facilities of a certain square footage to be able to come into South Stockton.
That should be illegal.
Areas. Well, I've changed that over this past year. Myself and other council members worked collaboratively to ensure that their constituents, especially in South Stockton, were represented and their voice were heard. And as a result of their voice being heard, we took action and we removed that big box ordinance. So now I'm focused on the development, economic development in South Stockton off 8th Street in the Western Ranch area. Because South Stockton, you should not have to drive to 8 Mile or to Lathrop to go to a grocery store.
Right. I'm from Western Ranch, and we refuse to go to Food for Less. We look at it as, I'm not going there. I'm not going to say any more about it. We go to Lathrop, or we used to drive all the way to Hammer Lane, and that was our way to get groceries. But imagine the people that don't have cars that can't do that. And right on the other side on Downing, they don't even have a grocery store. I would literally see people walk under the overpass and go to that Food for Less. So it's good that the ordinance, or the box, is called the box ordinance?
Big box ordinance.
Big box ordinance is over, because we really, even though there are going to be pros and cons for bringing in a Save Mart and Safeway, because the small businesses in A Street, are there going to be any incentives for them to keep going if, let's say, a Save Mart opens? How are they going to keep getting the business if people are going to go to Save Mart instead of going to their business?
Well, there's enough business to go around for everyone. That's just the reality. And so as we focus on, now that the big box ordinance has been lifted, as we focus on economic development, there's data and there's information and there's analytics that are out there that are going to give us a better understanding and give those who want to invest in South Stockton a better understanding of the type of amenity, the type of business, the type of store to bring to a particular market in a particular area. We just opened up there was just a Starbucks that was opened in Western Ranch.
And also Charterway, 8th Street? Charterway.
Right. And so there's development that are in the works, additional development, conversations that are being had for those particular areas.
Wasn't that supposed to be an apartment building? Because I could have sworn I looked into this is a couple years ago. I didn't look into it recently. That it got approved for apartment buildings. Wasn't that supposed to be apartment buildings that were supposed to be built right there?
There is still an area that's zoned for residential. So there's still space that will be developed for housing.
Oh, okay, because I know I read that a couple years ago. I just randomly read articles.
No, and that's good. It's good. It's important for the community to be informed.
You just found a good one that you were showing me right before we started about the recession.
Oh, yes. So there are a couple businesses on the Record newspaper. There are a couple businesses that are scared of a recession coming. Is there anything or any incentives that would help them if a recession does happen to come?
Recession is always a concern for everybody, but each community will be impacted a little bit differently as a result of a recession, nationwide recession. So economists are projecting a mild recession to take place maybe the third quarter of this year, maybe a 1 to 3% dip as far as the economy is concerned. That's pretty stable. When we think about recession, we have trauma as a result of the Great Recession in 2008, 2009, and a little beyond, which led Stockton even to bankruptcy. Okay, those aren't the factors that we're dealing with today. And so, Stockton, we're taking a very intentional approach to our local economy, to our governing structure, our fiscal solvency as a city, because we want our business community and our residents to know that Stockton is a great place to live, that Stockton is a great place to do business. Stockton is a great place to raise their family because we have our financial house in order. We have been able to program funding through federal and state grants that are going to help our small business community over the next few years. We have an economic development strategic action plan that we rolled out at the beginning of 2022 that provides a clear pathway in how we're going to grow our local economy. And we have some specific areas of investment. We're not, as a city, we're not about putting a plan together and that looks pretty and then it's just gonna sit on the shelf. We want an actionable plan. We want a plan that our residents and our business community can see, feel, and believe in. And that's what we have.
So should us as consumers be choosing small businesses over big box in our community? Because they both help in certain ways, right? The big box brings employment. The small businesses bring also like revenue into the city by allowing people to own small businesses. So is there something that we could choose over? Is like, should we choose small businesses over big box?
Small business are the backbone of our entire nation.
Mm-hmm.
They're the backbone of the city of Stockton. A community, a nation can't thrive without successful small businesses. That's really what it's about. And the majority of the big corporations and big box businesses, or however we classify it, they eventually started out small at some point. And so we want to continue to encourage entrepreneurship. We want to continue to encourage innovation. We want to continue to encourage growth in our business community. but it's absolutely critical that our residents in the city of Stockton support their small businesses.
Is there any cap to to having big boxes? Like, are they allowed to be anywhere in Stockton, or do you have a cap so the small businesses can also thrive?
I wouldn't say there's a cap, but throughout the city of Stockton, there are several different zoning areas where it limits the type of business or defines the type of business that can go in a particular area. Commercial business, industrial, light industrial, residential, even some commercial areas you could do a combination of commercicial with like apartments or condos on top, or
I know
or in
downtown
that
has
particular
it.
area.
Yeah. So there are four in economic development. I want to get to the housing. Housing is a big problem that I see going on in Stockton. Is there anything that your office is doing to combat the shortage of housing?
Housing is not only a big issue facing Stockton, but it's a big issue facing California as a whole. When we look at it through the lens of Stockton specifically, over the last 10 years, we've experienced a 10% population growth. We've experienced 8% growth in total households. And our vacancy, which was how many units or houses are available 10 years ago, was at 4%. And today, our vacancy is flat at right around 4%. So we've experienced a lot of growth, but from a population standpoint, but we haven't experienced a lot of growth from housing. And so what I do is I work hard to represent Stockton at the state and federal level, to advocate for incentives, to advocate for changes in policy that will make it easier for our community to develop more housing. It's important. There's things that we are doing locally here in Stockton regarding our permitting process, streamlining our permitting process, and creating a better experience for those developers who are building houses. We have several projects underway, not only affordable housing, but also market rate housing with the new apartment complexes being built, and strategic partnerships from an affordable housing standpoint to meet certain income needs.
I'm glad to hear that there's more housing coming. Is there anything you want to say about economic development before we get out of here?
Stockton's open for business, and it's important that those who want to do business in the city of Stockton understand the vision of the city of Stockton, and that is Stockton will become the best city in America to live, raise a family, and grow a business. And everything that we do in the policies and programs that we implement throughout the city of Stockton is going to be through that lens, and we're going to do it in a very inclusive and equitable manner.
Yes, I need everybody to be included. Everybody, especially economically. It's so, I don't know. It's California and it's whatever.
I was seeing all different types of businesses popping up.
Yeah, I do see more businesses, yes.
What's important to understand is that we're focused on creating the pipeline of employees, that workforce development, to meet the needs of our businesses, to meet the needs of industries that want to come and do business in the city of Stockton. And we're really, really excited about that.
I'm excited too. I need a job. Thank you.
Thank you.
209 Talk has been a production of KWDC 93.5 LPFM, Delta College Radio. This program is made possible by listeners like you. Programming is produced by the students, staff, and faculty of San Joaquin Delta College's Digital Media Department. It is supported by the Delta College Department of Arts, Humanities, and Multimedia, the Career Technical Education and Workforce Development Office, and the State of California. This is a collaboration with the City of Stockton Mayor's Office. Thank you for listening.